Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperatures over the next 5 days. We'll also have a look at the WRF run today. As we've been alluding to over the last sort of few days, we've got this real warm plume of air pumping up from the south, and there was the potential for seeing some heavy showers and some thunderstorms with that, and that potential has increased over the last couple of days. We're going to have a look at that in quite a lot of detail today, because there is the potential for some big thunderstorms in the south and the west over the course of the next sort of 48 to 72 hours. So yeah, with this hot plume, we could be seeing some thunderstorms. So have a look at the Cape charts and the precipitation charts with that, and then we'll have a look at the longer range, look at the GFS, GM, ECMWF, and the Ensembles. As it does look likely, we're going to continue to stay fairly westerly through the end of October. There have been hints of more amplification in the jet stream, but from today's runs, which I had a look at already, and I had a look at the Ensembles, looks we're going to be around average, if not above average, in terms of upper air temperatures, and remaining pretty unsettled, with low pressure centred out in the North Atlantic, just pushing weather fronts our way, mostly impacting the north and the west, but it won't be exclusively there as well. So yeah, looking fairly unsettled, fairly autumnal to end October, and of course, as we have looked at in our winter look-aheads over the last couple of weeks, potential for November colder weather looks above average, but we will have to see what happens over the next few weeks. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So if we do start on the live radar, you can see it is a very dry day at the moment. It's going to be fairly warm out there with the push of southerly air, but the warmest air is going to be accompanied by the most energy, and that is where we're going to be seeing potentially the biggest showers and thunderstorms. But at the moment it is fairly dry, and I'm recording this around 3 p.m, so we're going to be reaching the peak temperatures of the day, and I'll have a look at those in a minute. You can see just to our south and our west a few showers and some heavier stuff trying to push in, and that's the first hints of that really warm air mass and the pulses of energy coming up from the south and the southwest, which will bring the potential for some heavy showers and storms tonight. There's sort of 3 or 4 bouts of precipitation pushing up from the south and the west over the next sort of 2 or 3 days, and each opportunity has the chance of seeing some thunderstorms in it. We'll have a look at what those various risks are in a minute. Now, if we do start by going over and have a look at the temperatures just before 3 p.m, you can see it's a fairly warm day in most of England, Wales, and the Republic of Ireland. Scotland is still quite warm, and Northern Ireland as well, but not quite as warm as further southwards, but it's warmer than it's been recently. And you can see quite a lot of yellows and even the hint of some oranges there, which is temperatures getting to the high teens, maybe potentially over the next few days, depending on shower, thunderstorm activity and cloud amounts. We could reach 20 degrees. For the next sort of 3 days, it looks consistently mid to high teens, with the potential of breaking 20 degrees at times. So fairly warm conditions, and yeah, pretty pleasant out there at the moment. But still, if you get a bit of cloud, a bit of wind picks up, it will still feel a little bit autumnal out there. But some dry weather, some sunny weather, and some lighter winds. I wouldn't be surprised if you mistaken it for a bit of late summer weather, not almost mid to late October weather. Now, if you go over to the UKV and now have a look at those precipitation and temperature charts for the next 5 days, you can see as I run to this afternoon, you can see, I'm recording this, nothing much happening except some thicker cloud pushing up from the south and the west. The southwest is probably turning cloudier this afternoon, this evening. By the time you're seeing this, it could be turning cloudier, and we start to see showers push in, especially to southern parts of Ireland and maybe southwest England. A few heavy, thundery showers there, oranges and reds, showing torrential rain over the course of tonight. Will be very hit and miss, for eventually it pushes northwards, impacting mostly Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, maybe skimming parts of Wales and southwest England as well, before slowly dissipating through Wednesday afternoon. Around Wednesday afternoon, though, we see another pulse of energy up from the southwest, some more heavy showers and thunderstorms breaking out, and you can see where these reds and oranges are. That's where we've got torrential rain, potential lightning activity, and yes, some very lively scenes here along these warm fronts, and again, mainly for the south and the west, across parts of southwest England, Wales, Republic of Ireland, and Northern Ireland, before turning generally more into an area of heavy precipitation, less thunder activity as it spread through north, through Scotland, eventually clearing away. Then, beyond that, into Thursday, we see more potential heavy bouts of heavy showers and thunderstorms pushing once again from the south and the southwest, maybe impacting more southern and eastern areas through Friday, eventually moving northwards, but just a lot of spiralling of heavy showers and storms there, maybe more just showers, less red showing up here, but still the potential is there with the very warm air mass. For eventually, as we head into the weekend, we just continually see more bouts of precipitation, but looking less intense in terms of any thundery activity or anything like that. More sort of greens and yellows here, and less oranges and reds, but still some oranges and reds, so we could still see some torrential, thundery weather mixed within this. Now, the reason for this is if we have a look at the upper air temperatures. You can see at the moment we're fairly warm. We're average to above average upper air temperatures over the course of today. But, of course, this evening you see a push of warmth there, around 10 to 12 degrees at of THPA, and that's fueling the showers and storms overnight tonight. We then see another push of maybe 13 or 14 degrees at of THPA tomorrow afternoon. Incredibly warm air mass pushing in through tomorrow afternoon into the evening, and that's again fueling more of these showers and storms. This is a summer air mass. We must remember that. This is proper summer air mass. 15 degrees at of THPA would give temperatures in excess of 30 degrees from June to August. So it is a proper warm air mass. Even at the surface, we're not feeling that heat all too much. In the atmosphere, it is a summer air mass, so we're still going to see the associated impacts from that in terms of cloud and shower and thunderstorm activity. Now, beyond that, through Wednesday evening, the air does eventually sort of disintegrate away, but we still have low pressure around it. That's why through Thursday and Friday, we still see pushes of slightly milder and warmer air masses there and still see a lot of heavy showers and storms. But because it's more associated with slightly lower upper air temperatures and not as much energy, we are less likely to see thundery activity through Friday and Saturday, or Thursday, second half of Thursday, Friday and Saturday. But there's still the potential there because it still is a warm air mass, just not quite as much of a push of very warm summer air mass and less energy. But as I said, it's still low pressure, it's still generally a warm air mass, so the potential is still there through Friday and all the way into the weekend, before eventually slightly cooler air masses mix in, but still seeing pushes of warm air because the wind direction is still from the south. So yes, still chance of very heavy rain into the weekend, but it's more likely to be rain, and that's about it, instead of anything thundery later this working week into the weekend. Now, if you look at the surface temperatures, you can see this afternoon temperatures peaking around 16 to 18 degrees, really quite warm in the far south, but we haven't even reached those upper air temperatures or peaked those upper air temperatures yet, so it could be warmer even later this week. Overnight temperatures won't be too bad, especially in the south, maybe remaining in the low to mid-teens. Further northwards, a little bit colder in a slightly colder air mass, of course. Tomorrow afternoon, you can see temperatures rising once again, 17 to 19 degrees, but again, showers starting to push in, and we've got some thunderstorms around, so it will all depend on cloud amounts and, as I said, shower and storm activity. Through Wednesday night, we see those temperatures not fall away all too much across parts of England. Look at that, 14, 15 degrees around 5 a.m. towards the south and the east, and into Thursday afternoon, temperatures rising again to around 16 to 18 degrees, maybe the isolated 19 or 20, and that continues into Friday again, maybe even 20 degrees there, but again, more showers and heavy rain pushing in, and into Saturday, we're seeing once again maybe 16 to 18 degrees, so still really quite warm. So the rest of this week, yes, there's going to be showers around. There's going to be some thunderstorms, especially in the south and the west over the next few days, and there's going to be repeated bouts of precipitation thrown up from the south. So actually, areas in the north and the east are going to be best suited for drier weather, but it is going to be fairly mild, fairly warm, especially for this time of year. I know 17, 18, 19 degrees doesn't sound too warm, considering we saw almost 3 months of consistent 20 degrees plus in some areas in the south and the east through June, July, August, and even into parts of September. So it's not all too warm compared to that, but for the time of year, for the last third of October, it is pretty warm indeed. So make sure you do enjoy it if we do see some sunshine and whenever we do get the breaks from the heavy showers and storms. Now, if you go over to the WRF and have a look at what the Cape charts are showing today and the precipitation, the raw precipitation from the WRF. Again, we're not expecting anything crazy. These are no huge summer multi-celled systems, but there's potential for some lightning and thunderstorms to be mixed in with the general weather front because we do have some Cape. If we do move through this evening, you'll see moderate Cape pushing into the southwest, pretty high amounts. Again, nothing crazy, but quite high for this time of year. And you can see along that southern island, southern parts of Wales and southwest England, the highest chance of showers and storms. And it's not like it's going to be clippers. They are coming. The Cape's coming inland, so these storms will last inland. They're not like French imports or anything, which can disintegrate as soon as they get into the channel and get close to our shores. So it does look like they will move inland. Eventually, we see another push of Cape through Wednesday mornings that could produce quite a few heavy storms across western parts and into parts of southern Ireland, and then eventually just seeing continued Cape down into that south and west, but eventually could push northwards through Wednesday night into Thursday, again meaning that precipitation that moves there could be thundery as well, before eventually later in the week, as I said, through Friday and Saturday, we still see some Cape around, but it does move slightly further eastwards before it does disintegrate a little bit away later into Friday. If you do have a look at the precipitation from this, the raw precipitation charts, you can see through this evening those heavy showers and storms pushing off, especially across southern Ireland, a few though maybe into southwest England and southern Wales, but definitely emphasis on southern Ireland. And then into tomorrow, more heavy showers and storms pushing up, popping up in and out. You can see there across the parts of the southwest. Not quite as extensive as the UKV, but really picking up there through Wednesday evening into Thursday. Could be some very large sort of convection going on there. So it could really pop out of nowhere through Wednesday night into Thursday for eventually moving northwards and eastwards into Thursday into Friday. We can see a bit of that energy progresses further eastwards, so you could see some more showers and storms elsewhere. But you can see it is different to the UKV. They're two different runs, and it's all because we've got quite a lot of instability around, but it's where it's positioning and where we do see it engage with any Cape. So we've got to keep an eye on it, but you can see from both of the runs today that they are slightly different. So they're not exactly the same in their positioning of the precipitation and even the timings. But because we've got repeated bouts pushing the south and the west, so pretty much it's just should be safe rather than sorry, and just keep an eye on that radar. And do expect, if you are in the south or the west, to see some rain and potentially some thunderstorms over the next 3 or 4 days. So yeah, make sure you do keep an eye on the radar. That's the best way to know when these storms are coming, because even the best computer models do have a very hard time forecasting convection like this. If you do now go ahead and have a look at the GFS, see what that is showing over the next couple of weeks. It does look really quite westerly, but you can see at the moment we've got a southerly airflow with low pressure centred out in the Atlantic. And that's just pushing loads of precipitation and warm air towards us, and that's fueling the heavy showers and storms. And eventually the low pressure does go over the top of us very slowly into the start of next week. So the showery regime continues, but because the southerly airflow will be cut off, I'm expecting more just showers and areas of rain instead of anything thundery. Beyond that, eventually, we just see low pressure parked out in the centre of the Atlantic. The wind direction comes more from a westerly direction, so it's not going to be as energetic in terms of thunderstorms, but could actually be stronger winds there with the isobars tighter together. And it could be quite stormy there, perhaps, with a lot of low pressure pushing in off the Atlantic. No direct hits from any lows, but we could see small little kinks in the flow there that could produce some small low pressure systems that could become some interesting named storms or something like that. But we're not going to call that 10 days plus out. It just generally looks very unsettled and westerly. At times you can see the high pressure across Europe is trying to build, which may bring drier and maybe warmer air to the far south and east for a time, but we're getting weather fronts thrown at us pretty much consistently all the way to the end of the run. So yeah, don't expect anything too special towards the end of October and start of November. It looks fairly unsettled and westerly, so not cold but not overly mild either. And even when we do see the milder upper air temperatures, they're probably going to be associated with rain and clouds, so we're not going to feel too warm at the surface. The best place to be, as ever, when we see these sort of patterns, which are pretty typical this time of year in autumn, is the south and the east. And that's why, historically and climatologically, the south and the east are generally drier than areas further northwards and westwards. And it's these sort of patterns that cause that throughout the year. So if you now go and finish the video by having a look at the GM and the ECMWF, see what they're showing in the next 10 days. Again, low pressure running off the Atlantic with a general southerly flow, but that southerly flow kind of gets cut off in around sort of 6-7 days time, and we just go generally more westerly. Slightly more of a tilt in the flow here, with more of a northwesterly influence, which means it could be slightly cooler, but it's still fairly westerly, fairly unsettled, fairly windy and rainy. So pretty similar to the GFS when it all comes down to that. And if we do look at the ECMWF, see how that does compare. Again, low pressure pushing in at the moment to bring up a southerly wind, fairly unsettled, and it just continues in this unsettled theme, very similar to the GFS and the GM. Again, slightly different application of the jet stream, slightly different exact wind direction, but it's still the same theme of low pressure centred over the top of us and to our west, bringing in a generally westerly flow. Here tilted more southwesterly instead of flat westerly or northwesterly, but still generally in from the west. So it's fairly unsettled, around average in terms of upper air temperatures, maybe slightly above here with a southwesterly flow, and yeah, just generally not looking particularly pleasant really, and could be quite stormy as well, with some tight isobars there, meaning it could be quite windy as well, so not looking particularly great. And if we do have a look at the ensembles to finish, you can see very consistent, above average, not quite as warm as this week, returning more towards average, but maybe a degree or two above average, and quite a lot of precipitation. Nothing crazy, because we are in the south and east here in London, but still enough that it means quite a few days of the week are going to be seeing some rain and some cloud, some strong gusty winds further northwards and westwards. We'd be expecting a lot more precipitation than this, but no signs of anything dry, no signs of anything especially cold, even though we thought there was potential towards the end of the month. It pretty much has diminished over the last sort of couple of days, and it looks fairly mild and fairly unsettled. And it's very similar if we look at the ECMWF ensembles. Fairly mild, pretty much consistently around average, if not slightly above average by a couple degrees, and quite a lot of precipitation as well. So yeah, looking fairly unsettled and fairly mild over the next few weeks. But make sure you keep an eye on the forecast over the next few days, because we've got immediate impacts from this slightly warmer weather, this pretty decent humid air mass that might be pleasant if you're out some sunshine, but it could cause some big thunderstorms over the next few days, so just do keep an eye on it. We don't have any weather warnings out at the moment, but there is the potential for those over the next day or two, and we'll just have to see what the Met Office does think of this. But at the moment, there is the potential for some big thunderstorms, so make sure you keep an eye on the radar if you are in the south and the west. Luckily, some of it will be falling overnight, so you won't need to worry too much, but it's just something to keep an eye on. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.